Hey, good morning, everybody. Scary here. Adjusting my seat. So it's a Sunday morning here in lovely Cincinnati, Ohio. And it's, I'm going to adjust this camera too. It's like, I don't know, it's in the mid 40s today. I don't understand this weather, by the way. Last week and the week before, well, actually the week before last, it was sub-degree temperatures. Snow on the ground, 7 or 8 inches of snow on the ground. And I was looking at the weather forecast this morning, and it's like, it's going to be in the, I'm sorry about this adjustment. This chair is all jacked up. It's supposed to be in the high 40s and low 50s all next week in Cincinnati. The weather's going all over the place. And then I saw something on the news this morning where it's going to be torrential downpours in the south, and then the Midwest, it's in the Great Plains are supposed to get more snow. I'm wearing this hat today because it was a big race day yesterday at Turfway Park, and a buddy of mine said, "You got to wear your Will Take Charge hat, Gary. One of your programs, you got to wear it." Will Take Charge is a racehorse. He was a grade 1 racehorse. If you don't know what grade 1 is, it's like grade 1's the best, grade 2's the second best, grade 3 is like, Anyway, he's retired and he's breeding right now. He's making babies. But I love this. I love this hat. And I love the horse. Anyway, that said, God, I got off track of what I want to talk about today. I was thinking about this yesterday about when it used to snow, and I was younger, and some of the things we used to do in Connecticut. And mostly in Connecticut when we were kids, downhill sledding, and we had toboggans. If you don't know what toboggan is, I'm sure a lot of people that are out there know what a toboggan is. It's long. It could be 10 feet, 12 feet long. It's about maybe, I don't know, less than 18 inches wide, and it's made of wood. And then the front curves up like a wave. And then the back is all flat wood. And you get maybe four adults, 5 adults, maybe 6 kids on it. It's a sleigh. It's a sled. I don't know if they make them anymore. I bet they do. I'm sure they do. But we used to use toboggans for downhill sledding, and inner tubes, like inner tubes for a car or a truck. The bigger the inner tube, the more people you can get on it. Which brings me to my subject at hand, because I was talking about this with a buddy of mine yesterday. I haven't talked to her in a long time. And she said, remember back in the day we would get stoned out of our mind and drink some alcohol and go down this hill? Remember those days? And we talked a little bit about that. And this gal I dated back in the early 80s, her name was Susan. And we used to go to this place called the Cincinnati Country Club. They got this monster hill. I'm sure the hill's still there. It's got to be there. Well, no, Gary, the hill's not there anymore. It went away. Dumbass. No, massive hill. And because, I was 23 years old when we did this. It's back in 1983. And, sometimes when you're a kid, and I think most people can agree with this, when you're a kid, everything seems in your memory banks, it seems like everything was so different, maybe bigger. Things were bigger back when you were a kid. And so I went back to this place yesterday after I got off the phone with Susan to see the area of the Cincinnati Country Club Hill. It's still there. It's still big. It's still steep as fuck. When you get down to the bottom of the hill, it's like a long ass hill, and you get down to the bottom of the hill, and there's like a sand trap. And then it's like the lip at the bottom of the hill goes up, and then below it is a sand trap, and just a couple other hills that are like moguls at the bottom of this hill. That's part of the golf course. Well, back in 1983, we'd go up there all the time. Me and Susan would go up there, and we'd have a few of our friends up there, and we would. I didn't get into beer drinking until I hit my mid 20s. So what I did drink. I had a little flask of Mr. Boston's blackberry brandy, blackberry flavored brandy. And I haven't had a sip of that in years. That shit was strong. And I would nip on that, And then, of course, we'd smoke marijuana. We'd smoke some blunts. And Susan's younger brother, David, had this, I don't know where he got this thing, but he had this inner tube. It was from a truck, a tractor trailer inner tube. And he had a portable compressor. So we would go down, we would go to the hill. And it was dark out. So it was me, Susan, her brother, David, this other guy that we used to run around with. His name was David too. He was an adult. Susan's younger brother, David, I think he was probably in 6th or 7th grade. We were all out of high school by then. And Susan had gone to college and she was out of college. And so it was in the spring break. It was spring break. It was winter break for a lot of students. Well, David would bring his portable compressor and we would get on top of this hill. And David was too young to drink or smoke, but we would sit there on top of the hill. It was freezing cold outside. And while we were getting high and I was drinking my blackberry brandy, you'd see people coming and gathering with their sleds. Some people had like regular sleds that had, well, you know what a regular sled looks like, the tracks on their metal. A lot of people had those. And every now and then you see someone show up with a toboggan, one of those big ass toboggans. Well, we had this inner tube, and David would woof up this inner tube. This thing was huge. I mean, by the time it was woofed up, we can get Susan, me, and David in this thing, the three of us, and we sled down this hill. And with an inner tube, you can't control it. It just spins around like this when you're going down the hill. And we have a ball. Most of the time, we fall our asses off the thing because if you hit a bump or a hill or a divot in the ground, it would bounce one of us off the damn sled. We'd be laughing off the sled, off the inner tube. We'd be laughing our ass off. But while this one particular night, and I'll never forget it. It was so fucking funny. David had woofed up the inner tube, and then he had a can of turtle wax, and he would flip the tube over, and he would put turtle wax in the bottom. And if you wax the bottom, it would make it slicker than snot. And so here this kid is, he's waxing the bottom of this inner tube. Me and Susan brought she brought a big old fat Bob Marley joint. We lit the joint up, we were getting high. And I brought my blackberry brandy flask and we were sharing the flask. So it was me, Susan, and her brother. And he got that thing slick as snot. And we get on this thing. And there's maybe 30, 40 people up there. This hill was huge. And it went maybe 50 or 60 feet one way and back and forth. And then the hill went down. The hill was huge. Well, we slid down the bottom of this hill. I left my flask at the top of the hill. And this one particular night, we get down the bottom of the hill and we're all intact. By the time we get down there, we're laughing our asses off. We're stoned out of our minds. And we get down there, we're hanging out. And Susan brought the blunt with her and she put it in the top of her jacket. So we're sitting down there hanging out, watching other sled people coming down the hills, zipping by us, laughing, carrying on. Well, before we went down the hill, this guy showed up with a bunch of his buddies, women and guys and gals, with this toboggan. This toboggan was the biggest toboggan I'd ever seen. It was probably 15 feet long. It had to have been. It was strapped to the top of his Jeep. And Susan said, just look at the size of that toboggan. I said, I don't know where that thing came from. I've never seen a toboggan that long. It was maybe 12 feet long. And there was a whole bunch of them, kids. And then they're I don't know what they were doing on top of the hill. We went down the bottom of the hill. We were at the bottom of the hill first. So we're down there. Susan breaks out the blunt. We're sitting there smoking some marijuana, looking up at the hill, looking at all these sledders coming down, laughing and carrying on, and we could see because it was dark out, but there were street lights behind them on the top of the hill, and we could see it was dark out, but we could see the silhouettes of these people getting ready to get on this toboggan. And Susan goes, let's go back at the top of the hill. I said, no, let's hang out down here and watch this fucking abortion come down the hill. There's no way they're going to get a bunch of people on this wooden toboggan. There's no way. Because where we were sitting, we were blocking the straight. Then most of the people were going down the straight. Well, on the opposite side of the straight was this natural formation of the hill. When on the other side of it, you couldn't see it, but without snow, is a sand trap. But the hill was it was a natural glide of the hill going up like a slope. Well, because there was a bunch of people down in the straight part of the hill where we were, and they're all hanging out, and you see sleds coming down there. Other people were going down the other side, but people that were familiar with the hill avoided this slope, because if you're going balls to the wall, you don't want to hit that slope because you're going to be fucking airborne. Well, these people you can see their silhouettes, but they're the far right of this hill. So they're gonna, I said to Susan, they're gonna hit that divot, because the divot in the ground was probably, not divot, the slope was probably 10 feet across, but you couldn't see it until you got to the bottom. You get to the bottom and you're like, the person in the front is, oh fuck, what's that? So they're up there and you can see them loading on this thing, and they're laughing and carrying on, and you can hear them talking, but from where we were at the bottom, the hill was a good 100 yards up. It was way up there. It was a steep ass hill. And so all of a sudden you can see them, there's maybe 6 or 7 people on this thing, probably 7, and they start coming down the hill. And I said, Susan, look, here they come. And they're coming down, and they're clearly out of the way of the main straight. And there they go, and they're going down the hill, and they hit that slope, and the thing cracks at the bottom. So they get down to the bottom, and the force, there's like 3 people in the front of the toboggan, and then the rest of them are in the back of the toboggan. Well, the center of the toboggan, the wood, starts to bend, and it cracks. Well, it doesn't crack all the way through, but enough to get, because they're coming down so fast, they hit that divot, they hit that slope, and they go flying airborne, and the back end of the toboggan cracks in half, and it's like a fucking garage sale. They're all over the hill. The people in the front are down. They did face plants on the other side of this slope. It was like a garage sale. I was laughing so fucking hard, and they were scattered all over the place. I think a few of them got hurt. And this thing just exploded. The wood just exploded when they hit this thing. That was probably the first and last time they tried that stunt. But it was amazing to see. And people all around were laughing their asses off. And there was a few people running to their aid. There was people that weren't moving. They had hit this thing so hard. And it was like in slow motion to us, because it was like so hard to look at. They were like coming down, and it was the part that fascinated me is how it bent in the center a little bit, and they were going pretty fast. I mean, you're coming down a hill with 7 adults on a toboggan, like a 12-foot toboggan, a wooden toboggan. I hope they were high or drunk or something, because the force they hit when they hit that slope and it went up, you could hear the wood cracking, and then by the time the front went up, it had broken in half. And then so I'm looking, Susan and I are looking, and the people's heads in the front go out of the picture, out of our line of sight, because they're down below this slope. And you can hear people screaming, and then the back end's like a garage sale. It explodes, the wood explodes, and they go to the right and they left. I mean, they went to the right and left. They were all over the fucking hill. There were shards of wood everywhere. And so we started climbing back up the hill. I said, I'm not going to sit down here and watch this bullshit, because people were trying to help them get up, and people were crying, it fucking hurt. I mean, you figure if you're going to go airborne, think about it. You've gone sledding in your life. If you go airborne, you're going down a hill, and you hit something that's going to make your sled or your inner tube, because we wiped on that inner tube several times. I had bruises to show for it. You go airborne, gravity's going to take your ass right back down to that ice-covered hill. Because by the time the weekend goes by, the snow turns to ice. So when they went airborne that night, and when they were airborne, and they were coming down, off the side of that slope, they were a good 4 feet in the air. And when they hit, that had to leave a fucking mark. That had to bruise some ass. And this one guy went down on his elbow, and he probably broke his elbow or shattered something on his bones. Because there was a couple people crying, and there was one guy down, he wasn't getting the fuck up. He was down there, on the ground. I said, come on. I said, David, grab the inner tube. We're climbing up the hill. And the whole time we're climbing up the hill with the inner tubes, it's super light. Susan kept on looking down. She goes, oh, Gary, we should go down there and help. I'm like, fuck them. They chose to go down this ancient toboggan. And we looked down the hill, and they're still sprawled out all over the bottom of the hill like a garage sale. And there was nothing left of the toboggan. It basically exploded. This thing was probably sitting in someone's garage or basement for a whole summer getting dry rotted. And they said, hey, let's get the toboggan out and go around the Cincinnati Country Club. Yeah, great idea. I wonder what they were thinking when they were going down the hill. When they saw the people in the front of this toboggan, they had to see the slope. It was crazy. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. But just the fact that you could hear the wood cracking and it basically exploded, it disintegrated, and there was a garage sale. Human bodies were flying left and right. And we were sitting a good 25, 30 feet away watching the whole thing. The whole thing. It was great. Gary, how twisted are you? I wanted to see more. I wanted to see more mayhem. I wanted to see after the toboggan went down, more people coming down behind them in regular sleds, and they're hitting the slope and going down and landing on top of the people on the ground. That would have been cool. Anyway, that's all I got. I got things I got to do today. But I wanted to share that story. I said to Susan, she said, I've seen your podcast, Gary. You're fucking out there. You haven't changed a bit. I said, no, I haven't. She goes, you ought to do one. You ought to do a show on what we're talking about tonight. So when I'm done and I'm done with this thing, I'm going to put it on my page, and I'm going to call Susan and say, hey, it's up. It should be up in 5 minutes. Check it out. How accurate was I? I know I'm an ate-up individual. I can't help it. It's how I'm wired. I got to get things. I was a camper yesterday. I didn't leave my house at all. I just didn't feel like going out. It was a Saturday. I had a bunch of friends went down to the track yesterday because, like I said, there was a bunch of big races. I watched them all on my TV. I didn't want to go out of the house. I just felt like being a hermit all day. And I watched TV all day. I watched all kinds of movies all day. I watched reruns of movies. I didn't do shit. I had popcorn, I ate popcorn, drank water. Popcorn, water, and coffee. It was great just being a hermit. Today, I got to go to the grocery store. My cupboards are getting bare. And I'm going to go out and see some buddies. I haven't seen some guys who were in town, and I haven't seen them in a while, so I'm going to go. Anyway, thanks for going by and looking up this crazy content. Y'all have a fantastic Sunday. Thanks for coming back and looking at my program. Take care of yourselves and each other. Peace out.